Donald Trump has made a decision, but he won't announce it yet, regarding Venezuela. Donald Trump is absolutely stressed out. He's dodging questions about the Epstein files. Nobody seems to like it, while Maduro, who is supposed to be a horrible, unpopular dictator, marches in the streets of Caracas with thousands of followers. Yesterday afternoon, I traveled twice through the streets of Caracas downtown, which is absolutely normal, absolutely peaceful, with plenty of policemen and military on all corners. Downtown Caracas is known for its abundance of comunas and other territorial organizations in support of the Venezuelan government. Each street I crossed, each corner I passed, I tried to imagine how would be a targeted strike, and it just seemed that a huge number of civilians could be killed if missiles arrived. Perhaps the United States is trying to absolutely destroy Caracas into rubbles, just as Israel did with Gaza. However, Venezuela has defense systems closer to Israel than to rudimentary defended Gaza. It is impossible to infer how would a bombardment of Caracas occur. However, it seems that Caracas downtown might be one of the most defended areas in the whole planet. People's attitudes are normal, peaceful, and generally in a good mood. People feel protected, and there is not that fear that you could see in everyone as 1 or 2 months ago. In contrast, Caribbean countries such as Trinidad and Tobago or Grenada seem in a state of despair. They are being harassed by United States military, Navy, and Air Force, and a general sense of doom seems to be acquiring the minds of the population of Caribbean islands, except perhaps Margarita Island, which is possibly as defended as Caracas. There was a summit of judiciaries of the whole planet that concurred at the Venezuelan Supreme Tribunal of Justice regarding scholarly discussions on international law, as international law must be applied and protected. According to most countries in the world, international law prohibits shootings of speedboats without due process, regardless of United States assumptions on unilaterally designed terrorist organizations and full accounts of war crimes, aggression attempts, genocide are being recorded so that international justice systems may convict Donald Trump and Marco Rubio for their reckless treatment of foreign relations. Tribunals all over the world will be enthusiastic in addressing all war crimes lawsuits that will start arriving massively, because the political sentiment worldwide is that Donald Trump is a lossless pedophile that must be jailed, while Marco Rubio hides many secrets well known by Cuban authorities who have first-hand contacts with his family members. Panama was supposed to be a launching pad for United States aggression into Venezuela. However, President Mulino has differentiated United States military exercises within confined locations in Panama against the lawless possibility of launching an invasion into Venezuela from Panama that is off limits. Therefore, Panama is not an invading ally as it was supposed to be. Only remaining allies left for United States are Puerto Rico, which is not really an ally but mostly a colony, and Trinidad and Tobago, whose foreign ministry has announced imminent arrival of various United States forces between November 16th and November 21st. We are seeking a repeat of recent visit of USS Gravely, which led to the suspension of hydrocarbon trade between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela. Trinidad and Tobago Foreign Ministry announced on X social media about this scheduled visit of United States military, which is portrayed as an educational event to the benefit of Trinidad and Tobago school children. I replied to that X post suggesting that it was an elegant fashion to support United States military invasion into Venezuela and that they would be liable to war crimes. Trinidad and Tobago Foreign Ministry deleted the announcement, published it again. I cut and pasted same comment on their elegant fashion of promoting regime change in Venezuela and of Trinidad and Tobago being liable of war crimes, and this time they did not delete the press release. Another social media profile showed an avatar and a profile name not identified with a name and last name, suggesting that bot accounts are being used in social media to support United States war. The bot account claimed it was a Venezuelan happy with Trinidad and Tobago. Worldwide social media are showing an increased number of accounts claiming to be Venezuelan who are increasingly disgusted by the rest of the planet, as there is growing consensus that Venezuela war may not proceed. Venezuelan government supporters are increasing both within Venezuela and beyond at the international community. Peace and love is always preferable than war. However, Venezuelan opposition has a tendency of constantly complaining, constantly seeking war, constantly seeking regime change. Since the year 2002, Venezuelan opposition, financed by United States government, has engaged in regime change attempts, as evidenced by ousting of Hugo Chavez out of power during 3 days. That was in 2002. 23 years later, there are violent minorities in Venezuela who seek alliances with the United States to loot Venezuela as if it were a pie. Venezuelan petroleum resources are also being militarily protected. Munitions and weapons support continue free-flowing from China, Russia, and Iran. And Venezuela has had 3 months to prepare for hot war, while in the last 23 years, since the failed coup on Hugo Chavez, has had ample time to engage in long-run preparations of Venezuelan military equipment, which seems ready to be deployed against United States aggression. Such United States aggression remains unlikely or unclear due to Donald Trump's extensive domestic problems related to Epstein files, inflation, unemployment, domestic drug consumption, and rise of the Democrats as an opposition party. In contrast, Venezuelan opposition has been mostly extinguished as there is national unity for deterring United States invasion. The little opposition remaining is mostly outside of the country and unwilling to come back. Negotiations are being made between the Venezuelan government and promoter of invasion Maria Machado so that she can leave the country to receive her questionably earned Nobel Peace Prize in Oslo, Norway, an event that should happen in early December without feast or glory, as the Norwegian Nobel Committee has already expressed. There will be no street celebrations on Nobel Peace Prize this year. However, Maria Machado might become able to escape arrest and be provided permission to leave the country so that she can continue participating in Fox News evening primetime shows in person rather than by video conference. While Venezuelans will continue fighting United States military at the psychological level, at the economic level, at the communicational level, and at the military level, and perhaps at other levels as well, as scholars have identified dozens of kinds of war. A Venezuelan popular verse is that a scheduled war will not kill any soldiers. Venezuelans have had the advantage of being warned about incoming war during many weeks and months, and we are always waiting for an attack that never seems to happen. United States pressure, as warned by Trinidad and Tobago exercises with United States military between November 16th and November 21st, seem to suggest that false positives and provocation attempts will multiply during the next few days, and the Venezuelan military and government are expected to dodge them all, as our focus is in preventing war. We are still expecting the United States to fire first into a Venezuelan target so that Venezuela can legitimately retaliate and invite our allies of Iran, China, and Russia to simultaneously engage into war against the United States as a defensive strategy, as we would be claiming that we were attacked first. United States military remains hoping that some miscalculation will lead in Venezuela starting a war, which so far hasn't happened. Venezuelans are constantly engaging in promoting strategies to understand the motives of United States military and political authorities. So far, it seems that the decision announced by Donald Trump on the airplane, such as he has already made a decision, sounds awkward. Donald Trump decided that he has made a decision. Donald Trump announced that he has decided something, but he will not tell it. Which means that if Donald Trump has decided something and he is not telling it, he may hold the recourse of changing his mind at a later stage before announcing what his original decision was, or before announcing what his next decision will be. Donald Trump's behavior is erratic. Nothing that he said can be taken seriously, as improvisation, lack of preparation, and lack of decisiveness might be attributable to United States military defeat. It has always been suggested that the presence of war crime instigator Maria Machado in Venezuela has promoted United States obsession against Venezuela, as she is believed to be currently living within the installations of United States former embassy in Caracas. However, as she will leave the country during the next few weeks, with Oslo, Norway as her international destination, United States will no longer feel obliged to maintain such harassment against Venezuela, as she would no longer be able to participate in a violent movement to overthrow the Venezuelan government. And she would join previous opposition leaders such as Juan Guaidó or Edmundo González Urrutia in irrelevant exile. Even though there might be a couple of land strikes here and there, a full-fledged invasion is not expected by the majority of geopolitics commentators available, suggesting that Christmas will be peaceful while CARICOM is expected to meet to redefine regional security, as United States is no longer perceived as a reliable security partner, solely focused on offense and war rather than defense. Latin American and Caribbean countries used to trust United States defense strategies, as it was a country that used to have a Department of Defense. However, as they are now officially in the business of promoting a Department of War, Latin American and Caribbean countries are realizing that we are all at the mercy of the United States, meaning that a new era of Caribbean cooperation will be welcomed, with all Latin American and Caribbean countries further uniting into a common defense strategy that will exclude the United States, with CELAC as the regional organization with best prospects, as multipolar world takes shape.